A lot of people experience nerves before speaking in public. Now, I know public speaking is a phrase that we're all used to, but I'm going to reframe it quickly. A lot of people experience nerves before speaking in public. Public being any sort of setting where they feel like they are going to be seen, heard, and possibly judged by others. Social media, videos, work presentations, work meetings. Public speaking doesn't have to be this big thing where you are presenting to a group of 200 people. It can be you in front of a group of 6 coworkers you've never met before, being asked to introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do. That small moment evokes so much anxiety for so many people. So today, we're going to talk about something that I think is extremely important in order to identify, handle, and get rid of your nerves that I don't hear anyone talking about. So let's get right into things here. Welcome to your 5-letter word. I'm your host, Christina, and in each episode, we explore how intentional communication and a strong mindset can transform your business, your relationships, and your personal growth. Whether we're covering communication strategies or sharing tips to shift your mindset, this podcast will help you learn to create more meaningful conversations in your life so that you can deepen your relationships and grow your business. So sit back, relax, and soak in the insights as we dive into today's conversation. Fundamentally, we all have different beliefs, right? Right. Fundamentally, we all have different beliefs. We are all different people. We have different preferences, different religions, different food preferences, learning styles. Everything about us is unique to us in a certain sense. Now, if we were thinking of like Venn diagrams, there are things about us that intersect with other people. There's things about us that we have in common with others. So if you have a preference for learning with an auditory learning style, you like to hear things to be able to understand them, you have that in common with others who have that preference. You may also have a preference for, being in a very small group setting. Anything above 10 people might overwhelm you, right? You might have that in common with other people. But the combination of these individual preferences combine to make you a very unique individual with a very unique communication style with very unique preferences. So for people who are experiencing nerves before speaking, people who experience nerves communicating, this is extremely important to understand, and we will unpack this in a lot more detail in a moment. Okay? There are so many podcasts, YouTube videos, books, blog articles. There's so much out there with good, useful information about strategies and techniques to handle your nerves. Okay? That's not what we're talking about here. Today, we're going much deeper than that. Now, as a side note, this is important for you to understand because just because there's so much out there, just because there's different techniques that are constantly being recommended, doesn't mean that they will work for you. Okay? Everyone is different. You are a unique combination of different preferences. The tools and the techniques that you may need to handle your nerves and the types of situations that you are in is very likely to be different to the types of tools and techniques that someone else may need or may like or may actually feel compelled to use. Let me give you an example. You and your best friend, you might both experience a deep fear of public speaking. You might both get recommended to take deep breathing and do box breathing before a presentation. You might both get recommended to take that nervous feeling and that anxiety that you're experiencing and reframe it into excitement and the feeling of caring. Now, this is all advice that's out there, and it's advice that works for some people. You might hear this advice and go, that's absolute rubbish. Your best friend might hear that advice and go, that makes sense. Because fundamentally, you're different people with different preferences, with different needs, even if you are in the same situation. such as experiencing fear of public speaking. Okay? This is a very important thing to keep in mind for the rest of this episode, because this is foundational to the understanding of why certain things have not worked for you in the past and why certain things may not work for you in the future. Okay? Now, a lot of people have a fear of public speaking. They experience nerves, anxiety. It impacts the way that they communicate. It impacts the way that they sound. It impacts the tone of their voice, whether their voice shakes or not, whether they're able to articulate their ideas clearly in a presentation or not. But why is the question that no one seems to be able to figure out. Now, again, there's so many techniques out there, but this is almost a bandaid solution, at least from my perspective. Yes, it is effective to learn the right techniques and tools for you so that you can actually handle some of those nerves that are coming up for you in the moment. But that's why I see this as a band-aid, because do you want to then spend the next 10, 20, 30 years of your life relying on the same tools to handle the same nerves? Or do you want to go to the root of the problem, understand why the nerves are there, and get rid of whatever's causing those nerves to come up for you, right? If you're someone who gardens, if you're someone who goes outside in the spring, in the summer, how often do you see weeds growing outside? What happens if you pick the weed? It'll grow back. You have to go and pick it out from the root so that it doesn't grow back. It's the exact same thing here. Having the right tools and techniques is so important to handle the nerves that you're experiencing, but you need to go to the root and you need to change whatever's causing those nerves to appear while you're using the techniques to manage the nerves, okay? Big difference here. So here is what a lot of people don't really talk about, that is something that I'm noticing in my own work with clients. There are a lot of people who talk about the idea of your beliefs and your belief system and like, why are you being anxious? But here's the missing key. No one is talking about the idea of safety and you feeling safe to speak. Now hear me out. Fundamentally, you need to be able to feel safe in yourself, in your ability, and in your environment to overcome those nerves, to be able to make your case, to speak your mind, to introduce yourself, and overcome that fear of judgment, overcome the fear of repercussions, overcome the fear of failing, okay? If you do a lot of the inner work that it takes to understand what your beliefs are, it's completely possible to rewire them, to change them, to replace them with something better. So let me give you an example. Imagine that you are going through this process. You're trying to understand why your nerves are there, and you realize you have a fear of judgment from others. Okay, that's a very important first step. But then you have to go deeper and uncover, well, why am I scared of this fear of judgment from others? Where is it coming from? What's it stemming from? What kind of judgment am I actually scared of? And then you might reflect on it, you might meditate on it, you might journal on it, you will spend some time digging into it to realize, okay, I'm starting to see a pattern. When I was, going back to grade 3 in grade school, in elementary school, I would be silly and I would be goofy and I would speak my mind and come up with these ideas, and my friends would make fun of me. Or the people I thought were my friends would make fun of me. My classmates would bully me. My teacher didn't like my ideas and shut me down. And that made me feel unsafe. And that made me feel insecure. And that made me doubt myself. And from there, this pattern is born. And this pattern continues. And then, next thing you know, 20 years later, you're an adult at work, terrified to introduce yourself and tell people what you do for a living because of the fear that you have been experiencing for decades. But see, this is the shift that I don't see enough people talking about. Understanding that is amazing, but it's not enough. Because you really need to go that level deeper and build that safety to then shift the belief, to introduce this new belief of it is okay for me to introduce myself without judgment because I'm good at my job and I'm 20 years older and I'm not the same person anymore, right? It sounds silly, but how many of us go through this exact experience? I hear about this all the time. Theoretically, it makes sense and you know it, but practically and energetically, it blocks you. It's hard to acknowledge. It's hard to really embody this new belief within yourself when you are stuck feeling such a way for so long. And part of the reason is because you need to feel safe. Now, let's unpack what that means for a minute, right? What is safety, really? Now, there's different levels to safety, right? Of course, at the surface level, there's the safety of physically in the environment that you're in. Are you physically safe in the sense of like, no one will attack you, no one will hit you, you are not in any danger in that immediate environment? Then there's the next level of safety, which is acceptance. The people that you're around, the people that you perhaps have to be around if you're at a job that you don't particularly like, even if you are at a job that you like, you're at a job, which means you have to be there, which means to some degree, even if it's subconsciously, you know that you need acceptance by the people that you're with to have that sense of safety. Okay? Imagine going to work every single day feeling like your coworkers are constantly judging you. Many of you are probably having that exact experience. And how terrible does it feel? Completely terrible. How much happier do you think you would be if you were to be in a new environment where all of a sudden you had coworkers that actually liked you, that enjoyed being around you, that you enjoyed being around as well, right? It seems like such a simple thing, but it has major ripple effects. It impacts every single area of you and your subconscious and your life without consciously realizing the fact that you're unhappy because you don't feel in tune or liked or supported by your coworkers is impacting you more than you know. Going all the way back to your communication, your ability to speak up, your ability to say what you need to say with confidence. It's all linked and intertwined, and it goes way deeper than most of us realize. Okay? So we have our immediate physical safety. We have one layer deeper, our need for belonging, our need for social connection with the environment that we're in. And then let's go one layer deeper. It's our need to be loved and accepted, in most cases by the people that we call family, by the people that we choose to love. So spend some time reflecting on this, past and present. Think about the family and the really close people in your life right now. How much do they love you? How much do they accept you? How much safety do they make you feel? Right? That's the important piece to really pay attention to. How much safety do you feel being yourself around them? Are you scared to tell them something because they'll react negatively? Are you scared to say something because they'll get jealous? Are you scared to say something because they'll criticize you and put you down and tell you you'll never accomplish that? Why would you do that? What a waste of time and money, and all the usual suspects that so many people are so used to hearing. Why? It's cycles that we go through, that we all relate to, that we all wish we weren't going through. So really get honest with yourself. Within your family and your immediate circle of close friends, how safe do you feel expressing yourself? How safe do you feel speaking your mind, sharing your opinions, contradicting their opinion? These small things matter so much. These are the building blocks, the foundational Lego pieces of the entire picture. Okay, so just like when you buy a Lego complex thing, right? You get a box of Lego that has like 200 pieces and it's designed to form a very specific thing. So let's say you buy a Lego box of a race car, right? The pieces, you need the base pieces to then put the pieces on top. They all fit a very specific way. You might be able to take them apart and build some small, cute little side things, but you won't be able to turn those pieces into like a beautiful building or a bouquet of flowers or a children's toy because they're not designed for that. Your life, your beliefs, the small actions that you're experiencing on a daily basis, those are your Lego pieces. The way that they are happening on a daily basis, make them fit into a very specific image. That is your life, and that is your reality. And that may be hard to hear at first. And that may be easy to dismiss because it's hard to hear, because part of you knows that it's true. If on a fundamental level, every single day, you're scared to speak your mind with the people that you love the most, with the people that love you the most, just take a moment to reflect on how that would then impact your ability to speak your mind with a complete stranger who knows nothing about you and who has no real incentive to like you besides formalities. Ding, ding, ding. Now you're getting to unlocking those real fears. Safety is crucial. Feeling safe to speak your mind, feeling safe to change, feeling like you are going to be supported at every layer while you change, while you practice new techniques, while you go on this healing / self-development communication journey. That is a big deal. That is a major part of the process. Okay, my friends? So take a moment and really reflect on this. How are you feeling on a superficial level? How safe are you feeling with your family, your coworkers, with the people that are casually in your life? Go a layer deeper. How safe are you feeling with your family and close friends? And then at the very, very core of it all, you then need to consider, how safe do you feel with yourself? How safe do you feel in your own ability to do whatever you want? If you were to tell yourself, okay, I am going to go and sign up for a local workshop and I'm going to lead that workshop. I don't know, maybe you love crochet or maybe you love basketball. And you say, I'm going to go lead a workshop on this topic for the youth in my community. And then take a moment and really go deep within yourself. And you'll see this tension that arises because on the one hand, you might have feelings of, yes, that sounds exciting. What a cool thing to do. And then you'll have all the doubt and the fears and the old beliefs that come up around, what if no one shows up? What if people don't like me? What if they don't listen? What if I suck at it? What if I can't explain the things and the kids or the people don't listen? And then you go in the spiral and this tangent and talk yourself out of it and make it a much bigger deal than it should be. And then ask yourself, when that happens, ask, fundamentally, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I having this doubt come up? Do you feel like you are capable of doing this thing? Do you feel like it is safe to try? Okay? Right, because we all go to that worst case scenario. Think about it. I'm going to challenge you on it. Go to the worst case scenario. What is the worst case scenario that comes up for you? Right? Let's go back to the fear of public speaking that so many people experience at work. It's your turn to introduce yourself to a group of 20 coworkers you've never met before. Maybe they're new hires and they're new to the company. Let's work through it. What is the worst that can happen? You stumble over your words. You do a terrible job introducing yourself because you are nervous and your voice shakes. You maybe take 5 or 10 seconds to say, hi, my name's Christina and I am the communication coach here. And you feel terrible. Okay, let's go further. Like, what else? What else is the worst thing that can happen? Will you get fired? Well, not immediately. Not to put that doubt in your mind, but communication is part of everything, right? So you need to be able to communicate well. But in that moment, you won't get fired if you weren't able to introduce yourself. Like, realistically, the very worst case scenario is you make a bad impression. Okay, how many times have you already done that? How many times have you already made a bad impression because you were nervous? Okay, now that you have that in mind, what happened next? What is this terrible thing that you're so scared of that keeps you in the cycle of fear? And how many times has it happened to you? For most people, Our mind makes these worst case scenarios so much worse than they actually are. And acknowledging that is an important first step in giving yourself the permission to even start breaking out of the cycle. Because if your worst case scenario is, I am going to get fired if I introduce myself poorly, and then you think about it and you realize the past 10 introductions have been terrible and nothing's happened, take that deep breath, release that stress, because it's adding that shakiness to your voice and giving you those jitters and adding that anxiety that you don't actually need, because the worst case scenario isn't actually happening. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and challenge you again to think about why you are experiencing the challenge that you're experiencing, how your beliefs play into that, and then on a deeper level, how your sense of safety and security ties into that. Whatever challenge you're experiencing, go back to the root as much as you can. When did it start? What made it start? How unsafe did you feel when it started and first became a pattern? Identify those moments, because those are the keys for you to actually experience long-lasting change, so that in the future, you're not just putting a bandaid on your nerves with a few techniques you learned. You're actually eliminating the root of the problem. And that's what ultimately we all want. Okay? As we wrap up today's episode, my 5-letter word for you is fears. What are your fears? What are the fears that you are still experiencing that are preventing you from feeling that sense of safety? And what can you do about it? How can you really sit with yourself and remind yourself that all of these seemingly terrible things have happened to you that you've overcome, that weren't actually as bad as you thought? Matter of fact, I'm going to challenge you. Sit down and think about 3 coworkers that you met that you had a terrible first impression with, where you made a terrible first impression to them. And think about these same 3 coworkers that you made a terrible first impression on, and where are you now? Are you friends? Do you get along? Do you have a much better relationship? Think of 3 coworkers that you made a terrible first impression on that are actually now your friends and who know you and who accept you and support you. Even if the worst thing happens, even if your fears come true, just acknowledge how you can overcome that. That alone builds so much trust and safety within yourself to try. Because if the worst case scenario is you making a terrible first impression, well, what's stopping you from trying something new and trying to sound confident? And if it works, if it doesn't work, you're going to make a terrible first impression anyway, which is what you were going to do originally. But if it works, then it works and you have benefits and it's so much better. So go ahead, try it out and really take some time to sit down and uncover it, because it will make a massive difference in your approach to this entire thing of feeling nervous. Okay, now I just want to, before I wrap up, I want to give a very quick shout out to my dad and all of the cool books that he writes. So I love communication. I love speaking. Since I was a child, my dad would actually write books, and I would be his official, unofficial editor. And he even put me on the cover of one of them. That's me. Trying to be incognito. So shout out to you, Dad. You helped shape the journey, and love and appreciation to you all. Take care. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Your 5-Letter Word. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. And as always, I love to hear about your breakthroughs. I'm here to serve your soul a cup of peace and a slice of joy. Until next time, take care.